Yeah. This is the fancy stuff. This is a grown man, like an episode of Mad Men.
That's grown man for you. I'll stick with my cider here.
Well, cheers, man. Happy 4th of July. And shout out to, Vinny and whoever asked for it.
Like you said, pour one out for those motherfuckers.
All right.
I don't know how I feel about it, but it's fine. It's triple jam, but
I love this. This is blackberry whiskey with just a little Coke Zero chaser. But yeah, blackberry, delicious. Try not to drink it too much because then I start to sip on all day and I just feel it makes me gain weight. But man, it's the best drink. Delicious.
Oh, all right. So let's do a little show. Won't be too long, I don't think. No interview, and we'll just talk about whatever. I can't imagine we ever get through all this shit on this list. I should just delete it, but that's fine.
Let me pull that
up. Maybe we should just blow through it. If it's only the two of us, we'll only talk about it for a little bit. We'll see.
Okay.
All right. I'm recording. Welcome to a new episode of The Usual Saints. I'm Mike D here this week with just Saint, and I don't mean that in a defamatory or negative way, but I mean, we're lacking 50% of this fucking group.
Just Saint? What?
I mean, Saint, you know that you are the second usual Saint, in my opinion. Vinny, third, Jeremy, whatever. He won't listen to it anyway, so it doesn't matter. Right. So Vinny, after making a whole big thing about wanting to do a drunk show, and that's why me and Saint are drinking. See, I'm drinking my cider, and Saint's drinking his Mad Men drink.
Delicious.
So after making a whole big deal, Vinny tells us, what was it, last night, yesterday? Oh, I'm working. I'm like, motherfucker, you told us you were going to work.
Like I said before, I'm not one to have to talk about someone having to work and not being able to do the podcast because I basically had to take 4 months off. But yeah, I mean, but cheers to all you, and I hope, if you're listening, probably gonna be listening to this like on July 5th or July 6th. But cheers to you. Hope you've had a good 4th of July weekend, fireworks, drinks, and all that.
There you go. What Saint said. Happy 4th of July. Happy Independence Day. The whole Bill Pullman speech from the Will Smith movie. Today we celebrate our Independence Day.
Man, dialogue in the 90s was so bad. I mean, it's not great now, but it's just ugh.
I read an article just last night, actually, about that line. That line wasn't in the president's original speech in Independence Day. The only reason they added the line is because they kept pushing for the title Independence Day, and the studio wanted to call it something like Doomsday, something generic like that. And so they added the line to the speech so they could say, hey, look, he says it here. This is what the title of the movie is. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Right. I still remember the trailer, seeing the first trailer for that. That had to be the start of where every movie blows up famous landmarks, but I still remember seeing that trailer with a friend of mine being like, holy, where they just it comes over and it blows up the White House. As holy shit. I mean, and of course, like everything, Hollywood beats that trend to death. But yeah, man, that again, I mean, when I saw it, just wasn't one of my favorite movies, but it was just it was an event movie when we still had those that weren't Marvel or comic book movies.
Yeah, I mean, back then you didn't know what was going to be. In the same article, that year, 1996, Independence Day was number one. Not really a shocker. I think it was only 300 million domestically. You hear that now, you're like, oh, that's not that much. But back in 96, it was a lot. Then you had Twister was actually number two. And shocker, Mission Impossible, the first one, was number 3 for the year. Now Mission Impossible can be one of the top movies of the year every year. I mean, they always kind of have been. That's that kind of event movie as well. Now, especially with what Tom Cruise has kind of taken those two, the level that they are now. They're not just spy espionage movies. Now they're insane jump out the Burj Dubai climb down.
It's his version of the cinematic universe. It's the admission. Yeah. They basically run it like each movie is like a TV episode that that they put up. But I'm still a Tom Cruise fan. I like him running. He's going to be running somewhere to somewhere from somewhere. Let's get Tom Cruise running. And he always got, what's the movie? I don't know. If Cruise is going to run. Let's build around that first. Probably why The Mummy did so bad. I never saw that one. His Mummy. Yeah. I didn't know if he was running in that one, but
I think he was. And apparently he, again, this is just something I've read, so I don't have any inside knowledge. Apparently he wanted to take a lot more control and make it like less Mummy and more him. And so, I mean, I guess that seems like a Cruise thing to do, but at the same time, when you want to put out more quality product, I mean, there's a reason people don't talk about that. I feel like that much. There's a reason I didn't see it. It just didn't look that interesting to me. So yeah, I don't know. What? Go ahead.
Not a small tangent, but again, the first Mummy, and I remember seeing the first Mummy with Brendan Fraser and surprised how campy it was at times, which actually I think helped it. But then again, like Hollywood, they overdo it. And with the sequels become just complete garbage to me, including the one with The Rock and Scorpion King and all that nonsense. But that was supposed to be the start of the Universal, their quote unquote monster cinematic universe. And it's like, it's called The Mummy. Brendan Fraser is not the reason people are going to see the movie. So if Tom Cruise wants to be the star, it's like, I'm the star of this movie. Like, you're missing the point. It's the monsters are the point. But again, stick to Mission Impossible. What else is he still doing Jack Reacher movies?
I don't know. Aren't they doing that TV? Oh, that's Jack Ryan I'm thinking of.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he's still doing movies or not, but you got to stick to what your strengths are. I wanted to touch on the running thing because you brought up his running. He's a good runner as opposed to Steven Seagal, who we watched video of running a few weeks ago. So you see Tom Cruise running, you're like, oh yeah, okay, he looks good. He looks like a spry midget running. But you get Steven Seagal with the limp and
with the limp wrist running.
Oh my God. All right. So let's see. We were talking about, while we were recording our other podcast, the Usual Saints Screen Reviews, we were talking about Mythic Quest a little bit. You said you only saw a little bit of it.
Yes.
I didn't know if have you seen a full episode, or how long ago was that? That came out last year, so it might have been a while ago, but
they're on season 2, right?
Yeah.
No, I was excuse me. That was a little of that whiskey.
That's okay. That's what this show's going to be called. We're going to call it the drunk show when Vinny was going to be here. I knew Jeremy wasn't going to be here, but we'll see how far along we get.
I was streaming. It's funny. There's so much to watch now, and then you can't find anything, which is just crazy to me. I was scrolling through Netflix, HBO Max, Amazon Prime, and I was like, I haven't looked at the Apple TV Plus in a minute. I think because July 1st, they're actually charging us $5 for the first time for it. So just going through, and I've been saving it. I'm probably going to watch on the boat. I haven't watched Ted Lasso, and I know season 2 is about to come up. My wife, she's watched a couple of series on that. The Sea show with Jason Momoa. There's a show about a podcast. I forget what it's called, but it's a show where a reporter makes a podcast about a true crime that happened, and she's going back, and I guess she falsely put someone in prison. It has, what's his name from Breaking Bad? The young guy. Aaron Paul, he's in it. And it's, I don't know, it's just okay. But I haven't really watched much of the Apple TV Plus. I didn't watch the morning show with Jennifer Aniston and what's her name?
Reese Witherspoon.
You're better at names than I need to stop that. But
no, that's good. You keep drinking. What I'm saying is I'm good with names and shows, but
right.
Apple, like you said, there's too much shit out there. But go ahead.
Looking for an Apple TV Plus show, and I came across. I was like, "What's this?" And then reading the description, it kind of seemed in kind of my wheelhouse. It's about a video game, and I don't know how not up to date, but how informed are you about video games and the video game studios and all that process? Do you follow that at all? Do you know anything about it, or is that something that's ever been interesting to you,
You mean like how video games are created?
or the stories you hear about video game studios in particular? Because there's a whole subset. Like you can find articles, YouTube videos that talk about the different video game warehouses. I mean, you have the big one like Bethesda and Rockstar, who makes the Grand Theft Auto games, Insomniac, which makes the Spider-Man games. And you can just, when you read about them, there's a culture, and these people in them, you can make documentaries and docuseries about them themselves, about the culture and things that go on in the studios, because it's just like the behind the scenes of, say, a sports franchise. Like, sometimes HBO has that show Hard Knocks where you go behind the scene and see about the coaches. You could probably do that for the biggest video game studios, because you have the same thing with egos, drama, deadlines, all with a multi-billion-dollar industry. And I think that's what Mythic Quest was trying to do, get into that world. Obviously, it's someone who's interested in that world. And it seemed interesting. So I watched, I want to say, maybe 1.5 episodes. And like you said, Rob McIntyre from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, he stars in it, which, again, the first episode, you always have to give them leeway with the pilot. Because almost every TV show, the pilot, they're trying to figure stuff out. Unless they have a really great pilot, then you figure, hey, this is probably going to be a show that works. I remember watching, and this is like I think the last network show I ever watched. Did you ever watch Modern Family?
Yeah, I watched it to a point.
Modern Family, I think, is the last network show. That's a lie. It was Modern Family and This Is Us. Those are the two shows on network TV where I watched the pilot and I'm like, oh, this is going to be a great show. Which nowadays I think it has to be if you're going to be a network show. Otherwise, actually, no, you know what? And that's a lie too, because The Good Place is a network show, right? I didn't watch it on network, but The Good Place, I watched that on Netflix. That's a network show too. But so the pilot was a little, but I seen where they were going. I seen the funny, and I'm not deep into that world, and you can get down a rabbit hole with Gamergate and all that kind of bullshit. But I do keep up with the houses, especially the bigger ones from titles that I want to see. For example, they said one of the big news that just came out is that the new Grand Theft Auto 6, that it might not hit until 2024 or 2025. And part of the reason is, Rockstar is probably, besides an in-house, maybe Nintendo studio, they're probably the biggest studio in video gaming. Every game they've made has made close to $1 billion. So they come out with Grand Theft Auto 5, I believe 2013 for the PS4. And huge hit, huge success. So big that Sony eventually agrees to have it as one of their prepackaged games that they sell with the PS4. They go on, they have Grand Theft Auto Online, but their next game, which ended up being Red Dead Redemption 2, I don't know if you've ever played that.
I love Red Dead.
Another A+++. Like, sometimes that's the reason why, again, on a drunken tangent, I don't excuse any studio for making sub-quality games. Not every game needs to hit the level of a Zelda or Red Dead Redemption or Grand Theft Auto, but it seems like you guys aren't even trying. And it seems like Rockstar and Nintendo, they'll just be like, hey, look, we're delaying the game because the game's not ready. And if you're not cool with that, well, too bad, because the game's not ready. They do not believe in, we have to get the game on this deadline and we'll patch it. Like, no, what we want in the game, we'll take our time. And it could be, we'll delay it a year. Who gives a, we've got the money. So they're kind of like, and I think the best studios work like that. All that to say, because of what they had to do with Red Dead 2, and there were stories coming out that they're pushing people are working 100-hour weeks, which I kind of laugh at, because on the boat, technically I'm on the hub for 112-hour weeks. That's what we work on the boat. Technically 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, no days off. Technically that's what we work, even though we get time off. But like the work conditions, like I guess their studio really complained about it because in order to get that game, the gold master to launch it, like people were just getting pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. So that was a bit of bad news. So for that development, it's stated that for the next Grand Theft Auto 6, that even though they basically have the basic mechanics, the storyline of where they want to go with it, that they're not going to push their employees to take their time. And that might push the game back till 2024 or 2025, which is just nuts to me because you just know that's just a pile of money that whenever they release is coming out. But it's like, hey, we're already sitting on a pile of money anyway, and we're just going to release the game, when we're ready to release it. But to go with that, I think that's kind of that studio and some of the stories you hear coming out of other independent gaming studios of what Mythic Quest is going. So I think I'm going to check it out. How far deep into you are you? Are you on the second season already, or?
No, we just finished the mid-season finale, and there's a quarantine episode, which we just started before we started recording this.
Actually, I heard that was really good. I heard that episode was supposed to be really good. So I may get into it to get on that.
Yeah, I mean, I love Rob McElhenney from, Sunny, and Charlie Day and him and one of the writers from Sunny, Megan Gans. They created the show Mythic Quest. So
Charlie Day is one of the creators of this show too.
Yeah, he also writes it too sometimes. Him and Megan Gans, and it's not the three of them exclusively, but they seem to write a lot of the episodes. And there are a lot. I think there's 20 something episodes, almost 30 episodes. So right. I don't know if Apple TV, I can't tell from my TV Time app if they drop them all at once like Netflix. I feel like they used to put them out a week at a time because I watched Defending Jacob on Apple TV Plus, which was good. I'll recommend that if you want to watch it. It's a drama. But they put it out 1 week at a time. We couldn't binge watch. So I'm thinking that's what Mythic Quest is doing. But I love the comedy. I love the actors. The characters are great. They have you watch Sunny. Cricket from Sunny. The dude they always fuck with, the white dude with I think he's missing an eye at this point, and like he's got like scabies and shit.
Okay, yeah, I got you.
Yeah, that actor is one of the main actors in the series. So I was like, oh shit, that's Cricket. So seeing things like that, it introduced me to a lot of new actors that I didn't know were around either. What's her name? Charlotte Nickdow. I think she plays Poppy Lee in the show. She's like the head of technology, the director of technology, the head coder. And she's really funny. Like, and apparently she's a stand-up. Right. She's from Australia or something like that. I love her. She's like our favorite character on the show. She makes me laugh every time. And it's got Danny Putty from Community. Abed.
Right.
So
she was a writer on. Was she a writer on Community? The Megan Gans.
She might have been. Are you looking her up? She might have been from Community, and then I know she did.
She was on Community. She was a writer on Modern Family. I guess she wrote for The Last Man on Earth, which I'm guessing is Why the Last Man. Is that it for XS?
Yeah, well, right. Why the Last Man should be titled Why the Last Man. Last Man on Earth might be. Oh, Last Man on Earth, I think, was that series with that dude from SNL that was on Fox.
Oh, okay. Remember? All right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Why the Last Man's a little bit different. Not that she can't write comedy or not, she can't write drama or action or whatnot, but
another tangent. I can't wait for that to find. Well, they've stopped and started and redone it, which I guess people see as a bad thing, but I'm like, do not fuck that up because I love that comic book. That's a great, and it would work really great as a show, but I could see several ways where they could fuck it up, where they try to make a TV show out of it. Another tangent on top of a tangent. Did you ever read the book? And they made a TV show called, was it the Tunnel? What was that? It starred, what's his name? Zach Morris from Saved by the Bell. And
oh shit! No, I don't think I don't think I've seen or heard of that. I know the Tunnel doesn't sound familiar.
Was it Tunnel or what was it? It was on Fox. And
I remember Zach Morris being. I don't even remember the fucking. I know I've only had 3 beers, but I can't remember the actor's name who played Zach Morris. No, but the only thing I remember him. He was on. Oh, that was Ricky Schroeder. Shit, I'm getting confused. He was on that law show with the guy from the '90s. Fuck. Don't get old, kids. Memory sucks.
Yeah, I know, right?
All right, so Zach Morris, Mark Paul Gosselaar. That's who it is. He was in
Mark Paul Gosselaar.
Yeah, he was in that shit. What was that? You know that show I'm talking about? That where he played a lawyer with that other guy? Fuck me. This is I'm gonna leave this shit in. I don't care. Television.
Leave all this in. Not happy. The Passage. Okay, there we go. He was also, I guess he played on Mixish.
Yeah, he was on Mixedish, it says here. I'm looking at Wiki too. Oh, Franklin and Bash. That's the one I'm talking about. What's that motherfucker's name? Breckin Meyer. He was in Clueless. He's on Robot Chicken all the time. I just couldn't remember his fucking name. Sorry, Breckin.
Okay. No, the name of the book and the name of the TV show I was thinking of was called The Passage. And this was a really good book. Actually, a friend of mine on the boat, he gave the book to me, and then I ended up getting it on ebook on Kindle and reading it. It's like a trilogy that it has to deal with basically an apocalyptic vampires. Basically, a disease comes and there's vampires, but it's also has a lot to do with it skips time a lot. It's a great book, and I thought they could make a show out of it, but the problem is it ended up on network TV, and when it said that the network Fox had picked it up and they were going to do it, I immediately knew this was going to be terrible. I was like, completely wrong place for. I guess it was in development hell for a long time. I guess he sold the TV rights to it before he finished the book. He finishes the book, finishes the second book. It's a trilogy, and I've yet to finish the last book. I have it downloaded, but that's the tone and the general tenor of the book. I was like, this is absolutely wrong for network TV. All that to say is, I just know, like, if you hand off the wrong property to the wrong people, they can for sure fuck it up, because the book was great. And that's what I was hearing was happening with Why the Last Man. I guess they had to stop and restart it several times because people were taking it in a different direction, and it wasn't feeling like Why the Last Man, even though that comic series ended in like the early 2000s, right? 2005, 2006.
A long time ago. I don't know the exact time, but that's one of my ones I have behind me. What the fuck is this? No, my wife's hair on my shoulder. DMZ. Have you ever read DMZ? That's another comic series that's really good. That would be a great TV series, but you got to do it right. Like and like you're saying, you can't do network. Network's just going to fuck it up. They don't have they had the restrictions. You have the FCC, you have broadcast, all that shit. You got to put it on like Netflix. So, like, look at The Boys. The Boys took a while to get on TV, but when they went on Prime, shit, that series is awesome. So you got to put it in the right place. Yeah, you got to put it in the right place. Otherwise, it's not going to be done.
I also love what Prime did with Invincible. I mean, they could have made that live action, which is doable, but would have been really, the budget would have to be astronomical. But I liked how they're like, no, we're just going to do an animation and we're just going to update some things, because the original Invincible book came out, like, I believe he did Invincible before he did The Walking Dead. That's like a book that he had
very similar time frame. Before. Yeah.
And so a lot of the things, but if you watch the Amazon Prime show, they mention things like Instagram and stuff. So they've updated some of it to match current times. But I was really glad when they said they were going to do an animation, because I was like, man, if they're going to do it live action, you're either going to do it on the cheap and it's going to look bad, or, who am I to tell Jeffrey Bezos what to do with his money? But they'd have to like bankroll it big to be done right. So anyway, I'm going to give Mythic Quest a chance, and
yeah, it's worth it. It makes me laugh. It's something to watch. We kind of caught up on all other shit. I think right now the only thing this is something I'm sure you don't watch. Hoarders. Me, my wife, and my kid love to watch it because I love to. I don't want to say wallow in other people's despair, but these people I feel. I feel they need some help, and so watching the show is something we like to do as a family, which is a weird thing to say, but that's fine. So without anything to watch, I was like, let's give Mythic Quest a shot, because it's been I've heard about it, and I'm glad I did. Like I said, I'm 10 episodes in. The quarantine episode's funny. All the actors have a real strong comedic background, and they're all funny. And I don't like sitcoms, so something like this is kind of even though I guess you could say this is sitcom-ish, I don't think it is. I don't consider it that. I consider it a comedy show. That's just my thoughts.
How would you differentiate between the two?
So sitcoms, I feel like, are more multi-camera usually, more not necessarily family based, but more almost heartstrings sometimes. But that's not always the case. Like Roseanne was a sitcom, and I liked that for when I was a kid for a number of years. I never watched the reboot or anything like that. Modern Family was probably a single camera sitcom, but again, I ditched out of that probably 3 or 4 seasons and I was just like, it just kind of seems repetitive trying to fill 22 episodes a year. And I mean, I liked it. It made me laugh, but did it make me laugh consistently? No. So, I mean, if I'm using my time where I want to watch films or things that are going to be worth my while, I'm not going to waste them on things like that. And, again, no shame on anyone who likes those shows. I'm sure if Jeremy was here, I bet he was a Modern Family watcher and whatnot. And I know he likes sitcoms, but just not my bag. It's different in the way, I think it's different in the way the comedy comes across. Because I guess you could say Silicon Valley was almost sitcom-ish, but it's more my vein of comedy, I guess. I don't know if I'm making any sense here. Saying, am I making any sense?
No, you're making sense to me. I just wanted to see what you thought about it. I think I'm coming down agreeing with what you're saying. Like the difference is a sitcom, basically situational comedy. I guess a classic sitcom is you're always looking at the same sets. Like you think of a sitcom, you think of Jerry Seinfeld's apartment. Or you think Roseanne, like the living room, like classic sitcoms is like the family living room is where you can find, I don't know, 50% of the quote unquote set action pieces that take place. And it's the set pieces that you go to over and over and over again. Again, like Jerry's apartment, Roseanne's living room, the Full House living room. It's funny. I say those things, you'll picture them right in your head right away because you've seen them over and over and over again. Where I guess what differentiates a comedy would be like there's no set piece. It's more, instead of being a situational comedy, the comedy comes more from the plot versus, hey, we're here and the next week we reset and we just in another situation. So I think I tend to agree with how you're thinking about it generally. And yeah, I've kind of gone away from. It's just because, everything is just so bad. I think Netflix has tried and a few of them have tried to do situational comedies, but it just seems in 2021, it just seems so played out. And again, why the traditional networks are still making 22 episodes of anything is like, there's just not enough bandwidth for that. When you have 3 channels, yes, you can get away with that. 3 channels, 7 days a week. You got to fill your prime time. That's it. But in this day and age, it's like, it makes no sense. It's like 13 should be the limit for writers and for I guess, just people's attention span. It's like, again, the only network show I still watch is This Is Us. And that's, what the writing's still good. The acting's still very good. But with This Is Us, they've stolen a bunch of stuff. They're doing stuff, going forward in time, backwards in time, flashback, forward flash, all kinds of things. So, I mean, that's what I say. Yeah, I'm pretty much given up. I'm trying to think what comedies I have besides. I mean, this is what comedies do I still watch? I still need to catch up on the very last season of Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Oh yeah, Curb's always good, but even that. I mean, not that I was let down, but there's so much buildup, and I love Larry David. I'm going to watch next. He already announced 11th season. I think it's coming out this year, so I'll watch it. I feel like as the supporting characters go, whether they die or they get written off, like Super Dave, Marty Funkelstein or whatever his name was on the show, he died, so he's gone. But it was always good when he came on the show. Like, it always made me laugh because I knew their interaction was going to be great. And then Richard Lewis said he wasn't going to be in the 11th season because of his back surgeries and all these back problems he had. But then apparently he is going to be, and I love Richard Lewis when he comes on the show. So things like that. We'll see what happens. But Curb's always good for a laugh.
I still remember Curb for being the one thing when I was in the Air Force and I'd be in my room, and basically at that point, I was in the dormitory before I got my house in the Air Force, where they kicked me out and gave me a house. Um, and people would come to my room because for the most part, if there's no war, if there's nothing serious going on, the military is just like a normal job. You go to your 9 to 5, you get off your 9 to 5, people come around. They're like, hey, what are you doing? We're drinking, doing whatever. And people would come to my room and they would see me watching Curb and just cracking the fuck up. And they're like, what the fuck are you watching, Sainte? You're watching some old white guy doing this. I'm like, you guys have to. I was like, and they'd watch it. I was like, you can't just watch one episode. You have to like watch a few episodes and you'll get the jokes. And this is like season, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 of Curb, and I'm dying laughing. And this is right when DVR just started coming out. So I record all the episodes, the back episodes, and I just binge them before binging was a thing. And people are like, you're always watching this old white guy. Like, this can't be that funny. I'm like, sit down, have a beer, and watch it with me. And I converted so many young, Larry David should thank me. I converted so many young black men to become Curb Your Enthusiasm fan. Anyway. Next topic.
I'm actually out of my drink, so I'm going to go get a different drink. So I guess this is a good time for a break. I do want to ask, where the fuck did you get that giant ice cube?
Like I said, this right here. See,
it's a little smaller now.
It's not going to be in focus. Yeah, it was. So for Father's Day, my wife got me. Like I said, I'm a grown man now, about to hit 40, so we do adult things. But it's like a thing that's, I guess they're rubber or maybe silicone, but you make giant ice cubes. Instead of having a bunch of shit from the refrigerator, a bunch of ice cubes, you have just one giant ice cube ball, and it's perfect, and it just slowly diminishes and keeps your alcoholic beverage perfectly chilled as you go. I feel like a Mad Men adult. I feel like Don Draper, the Black Don Draper right here.
All right, Black Don Draper. We're gonna take a break so I can get another beer. I'm gonna try Blake's hard cider again, but it's gonna be a mango habanero. So I don't think that's gonna go well. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
Interesting. All right.
We'll be right back. You've been listening to The Usual Saints. All right, you ready?
No. Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Welcome back to The Usual Saints. I'm Mike D, here with Saint. I'm trying this Blake's Hard Cider El Chavo Mango and Habanero. I can't imagine it's going to taste good, but
El Chavo. Okay, we'll do this in real time. So go ahead, take a sip, and let's get your review. Let's go.
Whew. I don't know. I'm taking it.
What's the flavor again? Habanero and what?
Mango and habanero.
So you got a little bit of sweet mango to mix with the hot habanero.
Yeah.
Okay. Wait. Let me ask you another question. How many? What's the total sugars and calories on that thing?
Oh shit! Nutrition information. Let's see.
Mm-hmm. Nutrition might be a stretch, but go ahead.
180 calories.
Mm-hmm.
Sugars. 13 grams. Is that a lot
for a drink? Not. I mean, it's less than your average, soda, but okay. All right. So let's take a taste and see what we get. Go ahead.
It is gluten free.
Always a plus.
All right. Definitely has a spice, which I've never had from a cider. A little spiciness. It's not horrible though. It goes down easier than the triple berry or triple jam that I just had. But
wow.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've never had a spicy drink before. Oh, I forgot this.
Go ahead.
The scale. There's a scale between dry and sweet, and this one seems to be right above middle. So I don't know. I'm not really a dry cider guy, so I guess I need. And
I'm guessing your last one, triple berry, is supposed to be on the more sweet side.
I think so. So yeah. So it's in the other room. This is the fourth. I bought a 12-pack, 3 cans of each. This is the last one I've tried. I've tried the other 4. The strawberry lemonade is my favorite. I guess this would probably be my third. To be honest, the regular cider, their flannel jam or whatever they call it, that was not my favorite. That was like, it tasted, I don't know, it tasted like an apple from my childhood, but not one that I wanted to continue eating. So I finished the one can and I was like, yeah, I'm good with that for now. This isn't horrible. I mean, I'll drink the one can because we're, recording, but
there's our cider review for the week.
Oh, wait, I got to give a shout out. So let's see. Original Sin. We talked about them on one of our prior podcasts. Here we go. Have you sinned today? Original Sin, Black Widow. So they are, I think, based out of New York. And I bought their Black Widow because it sounded interesting. And I figured I'd give it a shot, their Black Widow cider. And all the cans, like at the top around the lip of the can, and I don't really love canned drinks, but I drink them when I have to. It had like this sharp edge, and I actually cut my lip a little bit right here.
Ooh, that's not good.
Not horrible. Yeah, it wasn't horrible. And I'm not like a lawsuit guy or anything like that. But I mentioned it to them on Twitter and they're like, oh, hey, blah, blah, blah. No, sorry about that. And they reached back out, but they were taking forever to reach back out. And finally, a few weeks later, they reached out and the CEO contacted me and said, hey, man, I'm sorry about that. And I'm like, yeah, well, just so you're aware, like it's a small company. And I'm like, just so you're aware, I bought another one since then. I think I bought your pear one and it did the same shit to me. So I said, you might want to watch your canning. But I said, I'm not worried about it. He's like, listen, I'm just going to send you a check for both this. And then he sent me these stickers for the original cider. So it really tastes good. The Original Sin cider. They just got to work on their canning, but I appreciate the CEO reaching out to me just because I reached out over social media. That was unexpected. But yeah,
that's good. Well, at least they're, I appreciate companies that at least take the time to at least act like they care when there's a problem. I mean, especially something like this, like if your cans are a safety hazard, I mean, that's a big issue. And you're not dissing it. You're saying, hey, your cider's great, but your can's making my lip bloody. Like, fix your cans. Like,
that's what I told him. I said, I really love it. It's just what's going on. And he says it's like a label printing problem. And I don't know anything about canning. So I don't know if it's a can or the label that they wrap around the can. And that's where the issue is. But I mean, I like their cider. I will recommend it. Just be careful. Maybe don't drink it out of the can. Pour it into a glass, I would say. So Original Sin cider. Blake's hard cider. It's interesting. This is the first time I've had it. El Chavo. We'll see how I am at the end of it to see if I can recommend that. But let's get on to some more news and current events and whatnot. So I put this in the topic list with a question mark because I don't know that we're really saying rest in peace, but Donald Rumsfeld died. You might know that name from when you were in the Air Force, Sainte, because you were in the Air Force right around 9/11, and he was the Secretary of Defense.
Yes, he was.
So, I mean, I don't know your thoughts on the guy. I only know the guy from what was going on in the news. And, I don't want to, my news probably always comes with some sort of liberal bent, as everyone says, even though I try to read straight on factual news like AP and things like that. But then of course I saw Dick, was it called Dick, that movie with Christian Bale, the one where he played Dick Cheney? I think it was called Dick.
Was it?
Yeah, I think so. But I don't remember.
Maybe.
It was, but he played Dick Cheney. And so you have Steve Carell, who I think played Donald Rumsfeld. So, that clouds my version of what I think of Donald Rumsfeld. But obviously people put a lot on him for being one of the main people behind the Iraq war. So like I said, you being with your military background, I wanted to just touch on it a little bit. We don't have to talk about it too long because I don't think Donald Rumsfeld is a necessarily entertaining subject, but he did die. I wanted to acknowledge that.
Yeah, I wouldn't. So, yeah, I was in the military when Donald Rumsfeld. The movie was called Vice. That was it.
Vice.
I was like,
okay.
I was gonna say
Dick's a little much here.
Yes. He was the Secretary of Defense, and before that, he was in. What was he in the original Reagan administration? I can't remember. He had a role in the original Reagan administration. I guess I could look it up right now. He was the Secretary of Defense. I believe he was the White House Chief of Staff. He was ambassador in NATO, counselor to the president. And he was the Secretary of Defense for Gerald Ford from 1975 to 1977. So he's played, and he was in the House of Representatives. He's played a role in American politics for a long time. The thing about Dick Cheney and the whole Iraq War, because that's what he's basically going to be known for. The problem I've always had with him is you always got from him, no matter what, that he always thought he was the smartest person in the room, when obviously it wasn't that. Here's what's the crazy thing. And it could be that Cheney was just out and out lying to the American public. But when the Iraq War was starting off, I'll give a little bit of my personal history. I'd been in the Air Force at that point 3 years. And so I get in the Air Force 2000. Then I remember specifically my recruiter telling me, hey, the Air Force is the way to go. You don't want to go to the Navy and Army. He goes, and the Air Force is most chill because, dude, we're not going to war. We just have little skirmishes. Fast forward to 9/11, and yeah, all that went out the window, right? But what I signed up for, serve your country, this is that. But I also remember that time period and going from Afghanistan to, okay, another tangent. So when I first get into the Air Force in the year 2000, remember, try to rewind your brains all the way back to the year 2000. The Air Force was supposed to be in a transition where they wanted to run the Air Force, and each service has their own quirks. The Marines are very more about tradition, Army a little bit, Navy, where the Air Force was supposed to be the quote unquote innovative service. And of course, now we have the Space Force for, I don't know, intergalactic warfare whenever that occurs, right? But so the Air Force, which the Space Force comes from, we're supposed to be the most innovative. So around the 2000s, their whole idea was we're going to treat the Air Force more like a CEO corporation. And the way we're going to run things, we're going to run things with the efficiency of the best American and Japanese companies. So the Air Force was in a transition period where they really wanted the Air Force to be, they're going to split up the entire service into 10 expeditionary Air Force units. And it was supposed to be, if we ever went to war, 1 or 2 were supposed to be what you called, you okay? That cider hitting you?
It's not the best. I'm sorry, Blake. El Chavo is not the best, but I will finish it. sorry for the faces interrupting Saint's story.
little interruption. I knew it was my story because I haven't even gotten to the good part yet. But little interruption there for another review of mango habanero cider. Anyway, so yeah, let me speed this up. So the Air Force are going to chop up the entire Air Force into 10 expeditionary forces, where if we ever go to war, 1 or 2 of them were supposed to be in the field in combat. You also have 1 or 2 on rotation, and the other ones are supposed to be buildup. And that way, if we ever go to war, for example, you send Air Force Expeditionary 1 and 2 to go fight the war. And when they go fight, let's say 3 and 4 are prepping, they're getting ready to go. So after 4 or 5 months, you rotate 1 and 2 out, you put 3 and 4 into the combat zone, and after 3 and 4 in the combat zone, 5 and 6 are getting prepped to go. 1 and 2 go to the back of the line. It's supposed to be the stationary. Anyway, 9/11 happens, and then specifically the Iraq War happens, and all that shit goes out the window. All that bullshit, because you can't run a war. You can't run, a war service, a war department like you do a business. And part of that also came from the thinking of Donald Rumsfeld when he came in. And, he's had some famous lines about, the things that we know, and then the things that you don't know, or all that stuff. And you have to fight the war with the army that you have, those kind of things. But the main thing I remember is I had a conversation when in 2003, before the start of the Iraq War, I was stationed in Korea. And I was stationed there with a staff sergeant who had been in the service. I had been in the service about 3 years. He had been in, at that point, about 8 or 9. And we were talking about the war. He's like, well, what do you think about it? And I'm like, I think it's a bad idea, because if we go into Iraq, we're never leaving. We're just going to be, even if we get rid of Saddam Hussein, we're going to be stuck and dragged down bogged down there for a long, long time. We still have troops in Japan, still have troops in Germany. I mean, technically we got out of Vietnam, but that's a war where if you look at it, we kind of lost. The mission wasn't really accomplished. The North Vietnamese army and the Viet Cong at the end, they kind of won, as much as it hurts to say that. And we already fought the first Iraq war, and that was get in, destroy things, and we got out. So this second time, I guess the overall point is if guys on the ground can see how this is supposed to go, when you hear Rumsfeld talk about this was going to be easy, we're going to go in and we're going to take out Saddam, and, they would see us as liberators, all these kind of things that Rumsfeld and to another extent Cheney were selling us. If, regular service members can see that, then I'm like, how really smart are these guys? And I think his lasting legacy should be he sent a lot of money and a lot of blood to Iraq to die for basic bullshit, and I always think and here's something funny. There are some people who I think are actual crooks and liars. You okay? Again, if you don't like
Sorry,
it,
man.
Stop drinking, Mike.
I just feel like I have to drink it.
He is struggling to get through that cider. I'm like, dude, if it's not good, just stop drinking it.
Maybe I should.
I'll send you over some of this blackberry whiskey. I guarantee you that you'll be able to make it through this.
I mean, I'm gonna put this on YouTube anyway, so people are gonna see my faces. But it's like, it's rough, dude. I'm sorry. I don't know. Maybe it is the heat. Maybe I've never drank a hot drink before. I don't know. Whatever. Go ahead.
But I think, like I said, you have con men, you have liars. But the thing that's kind of dangerous about Rumsfeld is he's someone who actually believes his bullshit. And even if everyone else can see that it's kind of bullshit, like he thought he was the smartest person in the room. And he's like, well, these things will work if we just do it. If we just do it and we use our military might. And I always felt him and Cheney were the kind of people who they were looking for a war. Getting in there, I think at that time, especially in 2000s and everything that occurred, there are people who get into those offices like the vice president, secretary of defense, whatnot, who I believe from day one that they wanted a war, and whether it was going to be with Iran, Iraq, or whatever. Once George Bush, and I mean, we can have a separate discussion of whether Bush was really in charge or not. But once him and Cheney were in there, they were looking for a war to fight. It was just a matter of time, and it just so happened September 11th gave them the opportunity. So,
right.
I know some people are overly harsh. I'm the type, like, unless you, I don't know, did something, pedophilia or rape or something. I don't like speaking too ill of the dead, but yeah, Rumsfeld is not one of my favorite persons. And I think even to him, if you believe in the afterlife, I definitely don't think his legacy is how he thinks it's going to be. So yeah, he died. And that's the most I want to say. Like, well, another one of the Bushies died. So there you go.
All right. Let's see. Where should we switch to?
My bad. I promise to keep, we'll rapid fire through the rest of these. No more long-winded stories.
Oh, no. Listen, we're good, man. Like, if we don't get to this shit, we don't get to this shit. Eventually, we're going to talk about, let's see, the topic at the top of the list. Besides the character crushes, which I think Jeremy put on there, the North Carolina zoning commissioner refuses to address black woman with doctorate as she requested multiple times. That's not that old, but I don't remember that much about the article anyway. I already mentioned it. Let's talk about it. So anyway, I remember basics. There was a guy, a zoning commissioner, as the topic says. So they're having a Zoom meeting, as everyone is wont to do now, even though society's getting back to normal. And there's a woman who has a doctorate and is addressing the zoning commission. And this guy refuses blatantly to call her doctor several times, even though he calls her miss or calls her other things. And she's like, doctor. And so this old white dude just keeps calling her whatever he wants to call her. And so, I mean, I just thought it was crazy that when someone specifically says doctor, and legitimately, like, I try to be respectful and call people doctor or whatever title they've earned. But if someone's telling you numerous times, like, bro, take note. maybe you should listen to the lady. I think he wound up being dismissed. That's the problem with going back to these old topics. It's hard to remember the details without looking up or linking to them. But he definitely got some heat for it either way.
No, and I think that goes with the current trend that we have in society today. Like, if she's earned a doctorate, and I've heard people say that they've said the same thing about Joe Biden's wife. Like, oh, I'm not going to call her Dr. Joe Biden. It's like, hey, look, dude, I didn't make up the rules. The rule says if you went and you got a doctorate, even if it's an honorary doctorate, like somebody felt, they don't just give honorary doctorates to any old body. And if someone gets a doctorate in education, a doctorate in this, they have earned that title. And if that's what they prefer to be referred to as, you should respect it. Excuse me. I think we just live in a society nowadays. And again, this can be said oftentimes. Again, we don't want to be a political podcast, such and such. But I want to say, not the cause of it, but I think the Trump and Trumpism is where everything starts to turn, where people felt like shame and apologizing is just, Trump has shown them the way. Like, yeah, if you want to be an asshole and you don't want to abide by new societal norms, well, fuck that. And there's nothing wrong with you. It's wrong with them. Start playing the victimhood. And it's, oh, I got to call somebody a doctor if they want me to, I don't know. Oh, I have to, call you by what gender preference you have and all this shit. It's a pushback against all that. And unfortunately, there's, an audience for it mainly. And like you said, and I hate to generalize this, it comes from the, oppressed white man guy, like, oh, I got to do with all these society changes, which, society always changes. That's just the nature of progress. But I feel there's been a backlash to it now where they feel like, I don't have to call somebody by the appropriate, whatever gender they choose, whatever pronouns they use. And if this lady wants me to call her doctor, if I don't feel she's earned it, I don't have to do it. So I feel it just that's where we're going now. And I mean, it's sad, but it's not surprising to me. So yeah, that's right where we're at.
All right. So I'm going to go dump out this El Chavo and get a strawberry lemonade. So we're going to take another quick break. Saint's going to continue drinking his blackberry whiskey and Coke Zero, you said?
A little bit of Coke Zero on top as a chaser, but I'm almost done with it. Probably not going to, because it's feeling buzzy, but yep.
Need a little bit more. This is the drinking show. All right. So we'll be right back. I'll have another Blake's, and you've been listening to The Usual Saints. Can't tell if it's the habanero or just me drinking that's making me a little redder.
Probably a little bit of A, a little bit of B.
All right. Well, welcome back to The Usual Saints. I'm Mike D here with Saint, and this time I have a Blake's hard cider with strawberry lemonade, which I've already had, so I know it's not horrible like the other one.
No more faces.
Yeah, it's nice and smooth. It tastes like lemonade. Yeah, I mean, the idea shouldn't be to have to drink something that you hate. So I appreciate you helping me to throw that one out.
Copy that.
Let's see. I don't want to make this show too long. So, but there's a bunch of stuff to cover. My cousin did, and I want to do this when we have either all four or maybe at least three of us, because we need a deciding vote. My cousin, and by the way, thanks for telling me my mic wasn't on mute before when I blew my nose, man. Jeez.
Oh, I just figured, I seen you doing it, and I was like, he might edit that part out, but I was like, I don't know how much it picked up, but that's all good.
No, that one, I thought I hit the mute button, but this mute button on the Yeti doesn't always work. So, when I saw it wasn't flashing and you were still telling your story, I was like, fuck. But that's fine. My cousin Alana, she built a band bracket for us. Basically, I told her to give us her top 16 bands of all time. And she goes like back to like Zeppelin and all the way up to like Greta Van Fleet and all that kind of stuff. But, between two of us, we can't, because if we don't agree, then we would split the bracket. So we need 3 or 4 at least. So I'm waiting to do that one till next time. I did want to touch on. You said you watched Lovecraft Country, so that just got canceled by HBO. I
Mhm.
remember. I know we talked in the text that you weren't necessarily a huge fan of it, and obviously you went down a rabbit hole and found out some other stuff. I mean, what are your thoughts on? We don't have to talk about Lovecraft Country in general because I thought it was a decent series. It was definitely was it different than what I thought it was going to be? I don't know. It went in some interesting directions. But and I was sad to see it go because I liked Jonathan Majors in his role on that show, and obviously we're going to get some more of him with Ant-Man. But what did you think about the cancellation or the series itself?
Uh, I was really excited for the show, and as as a show as a whole, yeah, I thought Jonathan Majors probably was my favorite part of the show, and it had some interesting things in there. Also, the one lady who played B-15 in Loki, she was in the show playing the sister of uh,
Gurney
what's
Smollett.
her name? Jodie Smollett. Yep. Um, but overall, I guess I was anticipating more of a serialized, I guess, narrative, and it kind of drifted into like I wouldn't say monster of the week, but it kind of seemed like there was some serialization in it, but it seemed like the middle part kind of was like its own independent thing. I really enjoyed the first episode, enjoyed the second episode of the first two episodes. But once we kind of got into the crust of it, it seemed like this was more, perhaps more anthology ish. Because I remember even reading the creator of the show was a woman. She was saying that like she could envision a second season, but bring in a whole new cast or a whole new group of people. But I was saying by the time it wrapped up, me and my wife, it just wasn't, I don't know, something about it just wasn't doing it for us. So again, I enjoyed the acting. The acting was great, but the overall storyline, it didn't really keep my interest as much as I thought it would. I was really hoping it was more of a, you know, one cohesive story instead of it seemed like a lot of smaller stories told together. It being canceled, I mean, I kind of get it. A show like that like has to be hits or has to already be uh scheduled for, season 2 or season 3 just cuz and it's funny, it shouldn't be as a viewer, I shouldn't take the economics or the behind the scenes of what it takes to make a show into account. I should just take the art for what it is. But, for me, I also find all that stuff interesting. So when I watch a show, I'm like, this show has to be a shit ton of money to make, being that it's, a period piece based in the past. So you have to get all that right. Plus with monsters, plus how it's filmed, you know, and it sounds, I just think, is this going to be a moneymaker for HBO? I'm sure HBO, if they really wanted to, they could have brought it back, but I can also see how it's just one of those that's going to fall to the wayside. So didn't really feel either way about it. Wasn't really dying for a season 2 of it. So, but again, selfishly, and I'm going to admit it straight up, anytime you have a cast with a lot of good black actors or a diverse cast, not just a regular, you know, cookie cutter things you see on screen, I'm always rooting for it. That's like I said, I was really anticipating it. And after the first episode, I was like, wow, that first episode, I'm like, I'm in all the way. And then it kind of went in direction. Maybe it was my own fault for anticipating something that it wasn't. Um, but as it went on, I'm like, okay, it went, the story ended. I was like, okay, cool with it. But, still looking forward to everything that Jonathan Majors does. And, going on and finding out, once the show came out, listen to a podcast and really find out how much of a racist H.P. Lovecraft was. And to see, the author of this book, because this is based off of a novel that try to rewrite his whole history. They'd made that, what was it, John, what was his name? John from Mars? Is John Carpenter
Oh, John
from
Carter.
Mars? John Carter from Mars. But to come to find out that in the original H.P. Lovecraft, he was a Confederate soldier, and there's just a lot of Confederate, uh, how would you describe it? Sympathy in like a lot of H.P. Lovecraft stories and stuff. So I was just like, oh, okay. But yeah, like I said, don't never wish for people to be out of work, but I'm okay for it being canceled.
Did they touch on during the series? Did they go to Black Wall Street and Tulsa Massacre as well, or was that a different race thing happening there? I forget.
They did. I think an episode I did, if I remember correctly, they had an episode of there. Of course, there was an episode where I'm gonna call it B-15 because she has an African name. I know she's from Nigeria. She's an English actress, which actually she was in another really good limited series, and that's when I figured out she's an English actress.
Wunmi Masaku.
Yeah, I believe. I don't want to get it wrong. I believe she's of Nigerian descent, but she's from England.
Okay.
But she's in a British TV series that was on Netflix or HBO, one of those. And she played a detective on that series. Really good job. But the episode where she becomes a white woman, I mean, eventually becomes a power that she uses, but the main episode where she becomes, she can shapeshift to become a white woman. I believe they did a Tulsa episode, but I'd have to go and look it up.
Okay. No big deal. I just wanted to touch on it. Let's see what else we got. Oh, I saw Fast 9. I don't really think we had to talk about that much.
you can give a quick synopsis if you want to. Go ahead.
They drive cars, and now for some reason they're super spies when the original movie was a drag racing movie, and now they're in space, and the end. I mean, beyond that, it is what you expect it to be. My wife says she enjoyed it as much as, you can. I enjoyed it for what it was. I think I found myself a little bored because they bring in a lot of the older characters. Like they brought in the villain from the last movie. And I'm just like, why do you need to bring her back? She wasn't particularly entertaining. I like Charlize Theron, I guess. It's Charlize Theron.
She's the main baddie in this one too.
She's not the main one, but they bring her back. Are we doing spoiler alert?
Please, I'm never going to watch this movie. But go ahead. Yeah.
Eventually, she does become the bad guy at the end. Yeah, but I mean, in the commercials and all the advertisement, John Cena is the bad guy who is Vin Diesel's brother. So again, we know. Like I have not watched a Fast movie. I got through like maybe 30 minutes of Fast 5. That's the last one. And then guys, this is what it is. Guys on the boat, they'll watch a Fast and Furious, and I refuse. In our main galley hangout area, they'll put on a Fast movie, and I will just get up and walk away because I'm not wasting my time. I'm like, I can find anything better to do than to watch a Fast and Furious movie. With that, you just know, seeing the commercials, I know, okay, so Cena's supposed to be Vin Diesel's brother. I'm sure there's a lot of, you did this, you did that. And by the end, because it's all about family, it's always family. I'm sure they're going to find a way to reconcile, and we're going to have another. I didn't know they were bringing Charlize back, but there's going to be a real bad guy, and we're going to find out his brother's being forced to do blah, 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 insert, repetitive storylines. Oh my God. How these movies keep making money. It's like, it's like people keep watching Transformer movies, knowing that there's eventually going to be a Fast and Furious Transformers crossover. But it's like, come on. Two different studios. That would be interesting to see a crossover. Yeah, it's Paramount is Transformers and Universal is Fast and the Furious.
I mean, they can do it. I mean, what, Spider-Man is Sony and Disney. I mean, they'll figure it out. I mean, I know originally it was supposed to be Fast and Furious with Jurassic series, and I think eventually someone's gonna, fucking get their head out of their ass and figure out that's a terrible idea. Where if Fast and Furious and Transformers just makes sense, even though you have to figure out the whole Tyrese thing. Like, how do we? Wait a minute.
How does he exist in two different universes?
Right. How do we correct this timeline here? Call the TVA, but that's logically the most logical thing that's going to happen. But I hear add the jokes that yes, this time they did go to space. Like I haven't seen it, but apparently they did, because that was a joke for a long time. Like eventually they're just going to go to space. And I guess lo and behold, they did in this one. I don't know. I guess Ludacris becomes an astronaut. Starts out as a street racer in part 2, and by the time we get to 7 and 9, he's a international spy, hacker, astronaut. Badass. Yeah.
To be fair, the astronaut thing doesn't really come like so easily. It's a necessary.
There's a reason that these streetcar racers from LA become astronauts and go to space. Yeah. Okay. Cool. I'm sure it's explained very well.
So if you want the rundown, so John Cena's character and the organization are putting a satellite in space, but they have to physically disable the satellite. And the only way to physically disable the satellite once it's been launched is to go into space. So they bring back Sean or whoever, the white guy from Tokyo Drift Fast 3. And he is now like launching planes and rocket engines into the airs with 2 other guys from Fast 3.
Of course. Yeah, because that was his trajectory, right? Streetcar racing kid who has to get shipped off to Japan because he's bad, but now he's an astrophysicist. Yep, sure. Yep. Those sense. That's the wait a minute. Question. Is The Rock or is what's his name, Jason Statham, in this one?
Rock, not. I don't know that The Rock is ever going to be in another Fast movie.
No, but I mean afterwards, yeah. Which thank you, Rock, for coming to your senses. Yeah, I know. They brought you in, and he even says for his money, Fast 5 is his favorite because that's the one he's mostly in. But yeah, like you're a bigger star. Why deal with Vin Diesel's bullshit? If to be in Vin Diesel's. Fast and Furious is basically, here's my rant. He's basically become a let's keep Vin Diesel employed in money franchise. It's what it's become. It's fuck the script, fuck this, we'll fuck common sense. It doesn't matter how ridiculous. It's just keep the money train rolling so Vin Diesel can keep making money. Crazy.
They only have the 2 more, 10 and 11. And they're shooting them back to back.
Right. Yeah. I'm sure it's going to end there, right? We're going to get the Fast spinoff, and how pissed off those guys were that The Rock and Statham got their own spinoffs, which basically you can tell now it's basically because The Rock's like, yeah, I don't want to fucking make another movie with this asshole. Like, and why should he? Why the fuck should he?
And I think that's how it's going to be because Jason Statham does show up at the end in an end credits scene for like a minute. But they are what they are. I'm not going to say they're cinematic masterpieces by any stretch of the imagination, but I still went and paid $750 or whatever to go see it, plus $750 for my wife, plus popcorn. Or no, we didn't get popcorn. We got snow caps and an icy. So the theater made $25 off this weekend.
Nope. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. Ever. Like I said, I don't care if it's free. I don't care if it's on. I will literally walk out and be like, I have to find something else better to do with my time than watch this trash. It's just, and it's funny because I try not to be a movie snob. I mean, I'm a snob about everything. I'm a hater, but it's like, why are you wasting your time with this? I
want it.
Go ahead.
I want it to be good. I want it to be, oh, wow, this is why I came to see the film. But I can't remember the last time it was. So it's been a minute.
No, I think the last time had to be The Rock. Had to be, introducing more and more people to it, bringing The Rock in. He turned the franchise around, but again, and I have no reason not to believe him. If you read his Instagram and his Twitter, he's like, had a great time on set, except for some prima donna fucking bitch motherfucker. And everyone knows, oh, you're talking about Vin. Yeah, Vin. He's the prima donna bitch made motherfucker who, acts like a diva on set for everything when really this is the only thing in Hollywood you can do now. That and Groot. Literally, you're in a Marvel movie where the only thing you have one line of dialogue through an entire freaking series. Like, there you
go. So yeah, I don't need to give it a rating. It's a Fast movie. That's everyone knows what it is. They're going to see it. But yeah, we'll see what happens with that. Should we touch on other things? I don't know. I'm kind of tired, but let's see. We're about to have a hurricane hit. It's going to be a tropical storm. It's going to hit you more than me. I don't know. That's the current cone. You guys doing any prep for a tropical storm, or you just kind of weather that one out?
No, we're prepping a little bit because my wife, she's still kind of new to Florida, so she's, a little concerned. She wants to make sure we're ready. And I didn't know if I was going to be here for it or not. But it looks like I am going to be. So we're just prepping, just getting things ready if the power goes out. Hopefully, we didn't get the charcoal grill, so that might be an issue. Hopefully, it's just a tropical storm. Of course, I'm guessing the power will go out and I'm not going to have Wi-Fi. So actually, I got to make sure some of those battery packs, I get all those charged, make sure we have a bunch of those. That way, at least we have our phones. Nah, not too worried. Like I said, I'm a Floridian I'm an OG Floridian, not like the new fancy was. So, hurricanes and all those stuff don't really affect me that much. But I mean, we're getting, some dry foods. We got some stuff to eat. So hopefully power don't go out too much here. I mean, I'm definitely anticipating the Wi-Fi, our spectrum and at least the power to go out for a little bit. But hopefully it weakens enough so where it's just bad rain. So, I mean, it's been raining. I mean, we need it because we're going through a drought and grass is fucking dying for a while. But now it's coming back to being green thanks to all the thunderstorms we've had. But hopefully this just comes and goes and whatnot. So, yep.
Yeah, over here. I mean, we're not even in the cone anymore. And unless something's a category 2 or above, I usually don't fret too much. Nope. We're like you said, I mean, I don't consider myself a Floridian, but I've been here most of my life. So I know how to deal with them. When that was Cat 5s a few years ago, when I think it was Michael or Martha or some M name was going to come through and literally hit Vero Beach directly, we did skedaddle to Mississippi, and then it wound up almost hitting Mississippi anyway. But we wanted to get the fuck out of the way of that. We didn't want to have to deal with any Cat 5 bullshit. But yeah. Right. I just wanted to mention that since it's on its way. There's so much news to talk about, but I like I said, I want to kind of cut it short this week. Let's end on a funny note. Talk about one of the comedians.
Bill Cosby?
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
I know your mind. I know your mind.
He's allegedly planning a comedy tour yes. Less than a week after he gets out of prison.
Absolutely. I mean, he did it last time. I listened to one of the podcasts I listened to, Dan Le Batard and Friends, which is mostly sports, but he had the reporter who's done the definitive work on Cosby. And just like the last time, he gets out, he makes jokes about it. If you go all the way back to 1969, his comedy, one of his very first comedy albums, where he talks about the Spanish fly, and he's like, "Oh man, you split the Spanish fly, and the girl's drinking. Woo, she'll be willing to do anything." And of course, back then, people think he's joking, and now you listen to it, and you're like, "Holy shit!" He just admits that he roofies women. This is, it's kind of like Louis C.K. in one of his, comedy specials talks about, well, don't sometimes you just want to take out and jerk off. It's like, yeah, it's funny when you think it's a bit, but when you realize, no, this is what he's into. But no doubt, it's not Cosby so much, because I do think there's something where if you become that rich, that famous, have so many yes men and yes women around you, where people literally, their livelihoods is based on you. Like literally Cosby's brand has paid for multiple people's livelihoods. It becomes, he sees himself as above everything. Everyone can get paid off, and how no matter what wrong you do, I think Trump also, again, political, but Trump kind of is, can be accused of this. You can justify everything that you do. Like you literally see yourself above quote unquote normal people. What really bothers me is just his enablers, from Felicia Rashad, fucking I understand Cosby gave you a career. I understand you wouldn't have a career without this man, but to not believe women this way. And but to get back to your original question, if in your mind you're above this, you're above normal people, of course, he doesn't really think what he did is I'm supposed to be able to do what I want with women because I'm Bill Cosby, and everyone's been kissing my ass and giving me everything I wanted since I became rich and famous. So if I get out of prison, and of course he's going to say, not actually admit that you got out on a technicality, but admit that he's somehow vindicated. you have to roll with the narrative. And if he's vindicated, why wouldn't I go out on tour? I did nothing wrong. You understand? So it's that sick kind of mindset that I'm just more, I guess, disappointed with his enablers and people around him, even his wife. I mean, just man, like you got the money anyway, but and obviously this man's been a serial. Obviously, that they had a kind of relationship where she just knew what kind of guy he was. I'm not saying she knew he was a rapist, but obviously she knew that he was a guy that wasn't faithful to their marriage, and she was cool with it. And now she's just sticking around till the bitter end. He's in his 80s. Like, there's nothing more this man can do for you, but to stick by this man is just, it's incredible to me. I don't know.
I can't believe, I never thought I'd see the day that he'd be released from prison. So when this popped up on my newsfeed last week, I was like, what the fuck is going on? And it's shocking, you know. You can say that maybe people aren't taking the women seriously, but I think it all goes back to this ridiculous agreement the prosecutor made before he did his civil deposition, where they said, oh yeah, we're not going to press criminal charges. And now the Supreme Court in Pennsylvania or whatever has to stick by that because this dipshit prosecutor, district attorney or whatever, promised he wasn't going to press charges. And then the new district attorney comes in and says, fuck that, we're going to press charges against this asshole.
But the thing is, he's not. And this guy, he's one of Trump's, impeachment attorneys. So again, not to get political, but you can kind of see where that falls. He's one of Trump's impeachment attorneys. And they said he went before Congress and gave a ridiculous, just more ridiculous. But this is the kind of guy he is. And they even said, even with this technicality, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, where technically they're correct, it seems like from the get-go, they were against the prosecution so they were either old school Cosby fans or whatnot. And I think it was a 6-2 or a 7-2 decision in the dissent. The two justices that dissented were just like, yeah, this is bullshit. And this is problematic. And this could lead, like, how do we know that this prosecutor didn't get paid off, or agreements like this could lead to other prosecutors getting paid off? They just ripped it. But this goes to show you how deep this runs. And I believe the Pennsylvania Supreme Court is a majority, quote unquote, liberal, democratic, whatever. But yeah, when it comes to that money and fame, it just surprises me how money and fame can just enact so many enablers. And the reason why these people think they can get away with it. And I don't want to say I thought Cosby wasn't going to get out, but when OJ got out, to me, I was like, well, if you got money and fame, hey, man, take your chances, because you can roll that unless you do something completely heinous, which there's people talking about Weinstein may get out. Maybe. I don't know. So that's just where we are right now, man. I mean, I guess you don't need me to tell you, it's good to be rich and famous, but it's just ridiculous. So I guess that's just where we are as a country now. And again, I just want to feel like the kind of society we live in, you can make excuses for, everything. Oh, it's either a political witch hunt me personally, I've been disappointed seeing some black people saying like, oh, well, we finally got a black man, they're always trying to lock up our black men. I'm like, stop defending fucking creeps and assholes. I'm like, there are plenty of legitimate reasons why the justice system is unfair to minorities, blacks, whatever you want to say. But defending Bill Cosby, it's not it. And that shit just drives me up the wall. But it's really just about, money and fame. So, right. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't have said it better. I mean, it's, like I said, I'm going to want to repeat myself. It was just unexpected to me. Yeah, it shouldn't be unexpected after, when I was 15 years old and OJ gets acquitted. But at that time, you were younger than me. I was on I don't want to say on OJ's side, I didn't know enough to examine the facts of the case or the evidence that was presented to me. So I'm knowing OJ Simpson as Nordberg from Naked Gun. And I'm like, yeah, this motherfucker couldn't have done that. Get him out of jail. He doesn't deserve to be there. Not knowing that he had domestic violence charges, not knowing that he had this history with his wife or ex-wife, and that he was a violent dude that could do this, and that the civil suit found did do this. So I've not always been on the right side. I just thought maybe this time we turned it around and the justice system worked, and I mean, I'm with those dissenters, man. Like, this guy basically admitted to it in his deposition, but you can't use it against him because of the way the laws are written in this country. So I don't know, man. I don't know. But anyway, should we end on something happier, or is that happy enough?
Let me run through real quick. That's a scandal. Condo in Miami, that's dour. Britney Spears, that's a shit show. People dying in the West Coast.
Do you want to talk? You want to talk about Noah Hawley's Alien series?
No, I don't know anything about it. Yeah, give me a quick 2-minute rundown and on that. What's it about?
All right. So Noah Hawley, you know him at all?
No.
Okay. So he's the creator of the television series Fargo, as well as Legion on FX.
Okay. All right. I'm down. Yep.
Yeah, he's great. Like, I've loved every season of Fargo. I loved Legion. It was 3 seasons or 2 seasons of greatness.
Yep, liked it too. Yep.
Yeah. So he is doing an Alien series based in, obviously, the universe without Ripley, without Sigourney Weaver, and this time it's going to be on Earth. And he wants to kind of make the corporations face what they're trying to deal with. So I think aliens are going to come to Earth. And given his history with television series and what he's come up with, I got to have a little faith in him. So I'm kind of excited. I just found out that news was just broke this week, that it's going to be taking place on Earth rather than in a spaceship in the middle of space or on a planet like Fury 151 or whatever Alien 3 was put on. And he says that he admires the original trilogy of directors, Scott, Cameron, and Fincher. And so I'm excited. I'm a big Alien fan, not so much Alien versus Predator, but and not so much at all Alien Resurrection. I hate that piece of shit. But but Noah Hawley doing Alien, I'll take it. So I wanted to get your genre take on that. Are you an Alien fan?
Yeah. Of course, the first 2. I remember. I want to say I seen the second one, the James Cameron Aliens, before I seen the first one. Went back, seen the first one. Alien 3 was but then going back, it's more fascinating to find out Fincher and what he had to deal with, and how he just felt like the studio was completely fucking him on that movie, and it kind of damaged him from doing movies. But like you, Alien versus Predator, man, get out of here, Resurrection, and then all the stuff that really Scott's been doing with Prometheus, and how I'm watching. It's like, am I watching a pre-Alien story? Like, I wish he would just be more clear with it. And then, of course, I think there was Alien Covenant. Yeah. I wish he would just be more exact with it. I understand, he do whatever he wants. He's the artist, but want to see with that. But I wasn't familiar with but I'm a huge fan of Fargo, and I did like Legion also, especially the first season of it. Because I'm a big Marvel. Obviously that deals with X-Men without going too far into the X-Men franchise and mutants. But if he's doing it, seems like it's in good hands. So I'll be down for it for sure. And I'm kind of glad they're not doing a Ripley story. It seems like they're glad to be done. I do not like where they went with, Resurrection or Alien Covenant. And but Prometheus was interesting. But finally, we should be like, all these corporations are doing all this shit. Yeah. What happens when the alien finally makes it back to Earth? Like, what the fuck? What are y'all going to do with this shit that you guys have been trying to get for the longest time? I'm down.
Isn't it at the end? And this is going back, you might not remember because it was 97, I guess. At the end of Alien Resurrection, even piece of shit as it is, aren't they headed back to Earth at the end?
Yes, so I think so. I believe so.
Yeah. So I don't think this is a continuation of this. I'm not sure if he's going to disregard that, but like you stated so eloquently, I feel like in Noah Hawley's hands, I mean, it's almost like in Noah Hawley, I trust at this point. I'll put that on my currency. I trust this dude. Right. He's a good creator. He's a good writer. So, all right, that's better than Bill Cosby.
All right, yeah, fuck Bill Cosby. Yep.
Fuck Bill Cosby. All right. So I appreciate everyone listening to us this week. Let's see. You can catch us on social media at The Usual Saints. You can hit us up on the website, theusualsaints.com. You can listen to our sister podcast, which Saint is going to work on. He just put out Loki 1 and 2, and we just did Loki 3 and 4, so he'll be putting that out soon. The Usual Saints screen reviews, look for that on Apple, Anchor, Spotify, all the usual suspects. Oh, that's funny. Unintentional. And we'll have another episode of that soon as well. And hopefully we'll be able to keep putting this out every week. Vinny and Jeremy maybe back for the next one, and hopefully Saint stays around long enough to do at least one more, so we could say bye like we did last time, before he goes off into a boat in the middle of the Pacific Ocean or wherever you go.
Yep.
All right. I don't know, somewhere in the Bering Strait. That was the running joke.
Bering
the Bering
Sea, yeah.
Bering Strait. Okay.
Bering Strait. That's funny.
Well, you can put a boat between the Bering Strait, right? It's right there. I don't know how big it is, how long it is, or wide it is.
I think that puts you in Russia, but yeah, it's okay.
You can see Russia from your backyard.
Yeah.
All right.
From the bow. Yep.
So for Saint, I'm Mike D. Thanks for listening to The Usual Saints. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode, and love you.
Peace.
All right.